With each NHL team now only having a couple games left in the regular season, we are finally starting to see some playoff matchups shape up for the first round of the playoffs, and it's a pretty exciting time. And I think last night we got our first confirmed matchup between Vegas and San Jose, but I'm going to start off my playoff predictions with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins series, which is basically written on the wall that it is going to happen. I believe Montreal has to win out and Toronto has to lose out if this series doesn't happen, but more than likely this is going to be a first round matchup between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if you guys want to see this for every single series throughout the playoffs, a predictions and kind of an in-depth analysis on every series, make sure to let me know. I did it last year and they didn't really get watched by many people, but obviously the channel has grown tremendously since then. So I thought I would start off with this series because it's probably the one I'm most excited about, no matter how the other series shape up, because this is a rivalry. It's something we saw last year, and I definitely think it will be the best matchup of the first round. Starting off, just taking a look at each team heading into the series. Obviously, there still is a couple of games left to be played. The Boston Bruins have 3 games remaining, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have 4 games remaining. Boston currently has a record of 47, 23, and 9, 103 points, second in the Atlantic Division, and the Toronto Maple Leafs 45, 26, and 7, 97 points, third in the Atlantic. So it's looking like Boston is going to have that home ice advantage, but if the Bruins are to lose their remaining 3 games and the Leafs win their remaining 3 games, then obviously the situation will be flipped, but most likely that isn't going to happen, and it's pretty much confirmed as what you're seeing right now is going to be the case come playoff time. David Pastrnak leads the Boston Bruins with 36 goals. Brad Marchand leads them with 63 assists, and Marchand also with a total of 98 points. Brad Marchand really is having an excellent season, and the Toronto Maple Leafs led in goals by John Tavares with 45 goals. What an amazing signing that has been for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I definitely think it is going to help them in this series. Mitch Marner, 66 assists, leading them in that category, and then also Mitch Marner leading them in points with 91. Mitch Marner, he's going to get paid this offseason. He really is a superstar in the NHL. Last year, in my opinion, he was the best player on the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs against the Boston Bruins. Hopefully he can replicate that, but get a little bit more help, and he definitely has, more guys to do that this year. Austin Matthews isn't going to be relied on so heavily now that you have a guy like John Tavares. Obviously you have William Nylander back, and he's been playing a little bit better of late. So definitely I think it's going to be a very, very interesting series. Both teams do have a lot of offensive firepower, so there certainly could be a lot of goals scored in this series. Now looking at some of the team stats, the Boston Bruins score 3.1 goals per game. That is good for 12th in the NHL. They allow 2.58 goals per game. That is 3rd in the NHL, which is very, very good. And they have a power play percentage of 26.4, 3rd in the NHL, so they have a very, very strong power play, but their penalty kill is just 80.6%, which is 16th in the NHL. So penalty killing really isn't Boston's strong suit, but it's not Toronto's either, so I don't really think that it's going to hurt Boston in this series. Now going over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, they score 3.55 goals per game, which is 2nd in the entire NHL. Obviously we know all the firepower they have, they're gonna score a lot of goals, and they allow 3.3 goals per game, or 3.03 goals a game, sorry, and that's 17th in the NHL. Obviously that is the discussion a lot of the time when people talk about Toronto, is their defense and their ability to keep the puck out of their own net. They have a 22.2 power play percentage, 8th in the league. We know, like I said, same with goals, all the firepower they have, they're gonna have a successful power play, and an 80.7 penalty kill, 14th in the NHL, not too much better than the Boston Bruins. So strictly looking at the numbers, I think special teams favors Boston a little bit, just because their power play is 5 spots better than the Maple Leafs, but I don't really think it is too much of an advantage in terms of special teams for Boston, because we all know Toronto's power play can literally just explode, and Boston not having a really solid penalty kill, that could be pretty problematic. And I think this is going to be a pretty chippy series, and there could be a lot of power plays, so I definitely think special teams will play a really, really big part in this series. In my opinion, it's going to be a long series. It's definitely not going to be quick. It's going to be chippy. They played last year, and it definitely should be very, very exciting. And now finally getting into my predictions for this series. Like I said, I think it's going to be a long one. I think it's going to be physical, and it definitely should be very, very exciting for us fans to watch. And me, not a fan of either team. Well, I kind of like the Leafs a little bit more just because I am a fan of Canadian teams. I won't really be strongly rooting for one team over the other, so I won't really get too upset. I'm just excited to, watch some really, really good hockey. But for my final prediction, I think the first 2 games in Boston, I think it'll be a split. And then my prediction is Toronto wins their 2 games at home. Boston goes back, wins a game, and then Toronto takes the series in Game 6 on home ice. So yes, this is a pretty bold prediction considering the Toronto Maple Leafs have struggled with the Boston Bruins, and obviously last year in the playoffs, we all know what happened, and Toronto is most likely going to come in as the lower seed, but I don't really see them as an underdog. They lost some games this year that they really shouldn't have, and I think if it wasn't for that, they probably would be ahead of the Boston Bruins in the standings, but nonetheless, that is not how it happened, and my final prediction is the Toronto Maple Leafs win this series in 6 games, so I'm very, very curious to hear what you guys think. I think this is going to be a very close series, and it definitely could go the other way, and we could see Boston winning in 6 or 7, and definitely I think I could be wrong with it only going 6 games. This is a series that potentially could very well go 7 games. So with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and make sure to let me know down in the comments section your predictions for this series, the game number, who's going to win, point leaders, all that stuff. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below. And with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.